It all started on Saturday, October 30th, 2010, from about 9 a.m., intensifying for a full 24 hours. When the rain finally stopped, it was the morning of Sunday, October 31st. By that time, all radio stations were knocked off the air. There was a deafening silence from some parts of the island, cut off completely by the storm. As daylight unfolded, the evidence became clear.
I was there, I saw, and I couldn't believe it. Because all of the whole hill at Mini come down and it sweep into Lacoon. And that's just a bad village.
Tout côté qui était ni la rivière, les monts descendent, ça fait la falaise. It's a question.
But my concern right now is not for the dead. I sympathize, I understand. But my concern is for the living that may become dead.
Hurricane Tomas was going to be etched in the history of St. Lucia as the most devastating storm to hit the island in recent times.
With our preliminary assessments coming from the various agencies regarding the damage caused and the cost for reconstruction is in the vicinity of US $500 million, which is a sizable amount.
Hurricane Tomas was an extreme rainfall event. The island's steep slopes, already weakened by a drought earlier in the year, could not withstand over 24 hours of non-stop rain. The St. Lucia Meteorological Office reports that the George F. L. Charles Airport in Castries reported 533 millimeters or 21 inches of rain. Huonora Airport in Vieux-Fort recorded 593 millimeters or 23.4 inches of rain. The Dewash Automated Weather Station at the top of Fort Saint-Jacques in Soufrière, the community hardest hit, recorded 668 millimeters of rainfall or 26 inches of rain from 4 a.m. on Saturday to 3 a.m. on Sunday. On average, St. Lucia recorded an inch of rainfall every hour. The St. Lucia Meteorological Service says that rainfall from Hurricane Tomas exceeded Debbie, the last big rainfall event in 1994, by 100 millimeters. Within hours of the storm, the extent of the damage became obvious. In Castries, the shock bridge along the main road connecting the city to the tourism belt in Groslay had collapsed. Further up the Groslay Highway, another bridge at Bois de Wache was damaged by the flood waters. Areas around Castries suffered major rain and flood damage. A massive landslide tore away the road linking Kako to Geno in the Babonneau constituency, sweeping away 5 homes in the area. Fortunately, there was no loss of life. As more sunlight peered through highly overcast skies, it slowly revealed a real and frightening picture. Another landslide on the west coast on the road to Soufrière would take the life of Sabinus Thomas, one of the island's prominent arts and craft exponents. His son, daughter, and wife also perished, not far from St. Lucia's best-known landmarks. Soufrière town, the west coast tourism capital, containing the most visited tourist attractions, was now a picture of devastation. The human tragedy was unimaginable. The interior community of Fort Saint-Jacques was completely devastated. It was cut off by several landslides. Many homes were destroyed, lives were lost, including a mother and her 2 sons, when their home was buried under an avalanche of mud and water. No community was spared. The road structure was unable to withstand the floodwaters and landslides from Hurricane Tomas. The devastation was extensive and reconstruction will surely be expensive.
In some instances, we speak of communities having to be either redeveloped or new communities developed. And one example is the community of Fort Saint-Jacques in Soufrière, which has been completely wiped out as a consequence of mudslides and landslides.
The water sector was severely hit. Landslides disrupted major water sources. Water authorities soon announced that all intakes were destroyed, badly damaged, or washed away. Miles of supply mains were buried under landslides, and the John Compton Dam at Roseau, the island's main water source, was disabled. Pump stations were either destroyed, mud-filled, or without electricity. The island's water supply was disrupted. There was no community with potable water in the wake of Hurricane Tomas.
In fact, up to now, we've not been able to restore water supply because of the serious destruction to the actual water infrastructure.
The damage to the island's water infrastructure was extensive, and the cost of repairs would run into several millions of US dollars.
The challenge for us is, while there are rivers that we can draw water from, the amount of landslides that we have, the amount of silt that is washed into these rivers, it will take it a while before the water can get clean enough to even be treated in order to be used.
The water sector needs some serious injection of capital in terms of not just repairing the damage, but building the resilience and strengthening the capacity of the sector to respond to such calamities.
The unavailability of drinking water caused the National Emergency Management Organization, NEMO, to announce a water emergency. The unavailability of clean drinking water exposed the population to waterborne diseases. The entire country was without pipe-borne water. There was no potable water for drinking, cooking, and for cleaning up after the storm, and critically, for general hygiene. The island's leading supermarket chain was without water to clean up its flooded warehouse. Its ability to provide critically needed food supplies was being hampered by its inability to clean away the muck and mud brought down by the flood waters. Hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of goods were damaged in 8 feet of muddy flood waters. Other warehouses suffered similar damage. The island's main health institutions were also affected by flooding. Damaged roofs resulting in water-soaked medical supplies, equipment, and patient facilities. Many homes were lost to the flood waters and several landslides across St. Lucia. Many houses still teeter perilously on the verge of collapse. A major challenge will be to rebuild the homes lost in Soufrière's Font-Saint-Jacques community. The entire area was evacuated, leaving over 1,000 people homeless. Preliminary reports indicate that the residents may never return to their homes. Some of the emergency shelters are schools, many damaged by Hurricane Tomas through land slippages, flood damage, and in some cases, wind damage. Computers, copiers, and other equipment were lost. The schools themselves require major cleanup operations. The banana industry has been the lifeblood of St. Lucia's economy for generations, and once again, it has suffered a tremendous blow. Banana fields were the first casualties of the hurricane-force winds of Tomas. Banana plantations from around the island were leveled, and in the process have denied the country's farmers and their dependents precious income for many months to come.
Based on our preliminary figures, estimates, we realize that the entire banana industry is affected. We are not in a position right now to export to our traditional market. Greenhouses were destroyed, irrigation systems were damaged, a lot of farm roads were washed away. In some instances, we would have to realign these roads, and it would be very costly. And to date, as we speak, there are farmers who have not been able to get to their holdings.
Vegetable farms have been wiped out. Poultry farmers have lost thousands of birds, and many livestock were drowned in rising flood waters. St. Lucia's food security has been seriously impacted. Acres of rich agricultural lands were washed away by the flood waters, making any recovery in the agricultural sector extremely challenging. Farmers who have just recovered from a severe drought are now extremely demotivated.
One have to understand, coming from a drought, and a severe drought, after 4 months coming back into production and being faced with the hurricane, is very discouraging, and there must be some support to encourage our farmers to get back into production.
farmers need immediate assistance in jump-starting the seriously impacted agricultural sector.
The question of inputs, fertilizers, seeds, pesticides, the question of financial support, to help them pay for the labor to re-establish, because one have to understand and appreciate when you're re-establishing, the demand for labor is critical.
The communication infrastructure was hit hard by Hurricane Tomas. Main roads in the north were severed in many areas by devastating landslides. West Coast communities were completely isolated. On the East Coast, it was an equally depressing sight. In Bexar, thick muddy waters overflowed riverbanks, overwhelming the main link road to the East Coast and overflowing into homes along the highway. There was extensive property damage. A few miles away, the mountain range linking the north to the east and south experienced severe landslides, cutting off all access to the East Coast. There were massive landslides making it impossible to travel to the east and south coasts of the island. In the Bardalil, there was a major operation to clear the main road of the thousands of trees brought down by the landslides. Families desperate for news of loved ones, desperate for water and other essentials, were trekking in dangerous conditions up and down the now unstable portion of the Bardalil. This portion of the East Coast Road, prone to frequent landslides after heavy rains, once again suffered landslide damage, with portions getting washed away, making it almost irreparable in some areas. This is a major challenge to the complete restoration of the island's road network.
It's the terrain that we have to work with, the retaining walls and the bridges that we have to build. So it is really a challenge, and it is going to cost us quite a bit to bring things back to normal in the country.
Because St. Lucia is always going to be in a hurricane path, is always going to be suspect to heavy rains, and the terrain in the Bardalil shows the vulnerability of this country as it relates to transportation to the international airport and up north.
We saw the implications of the Bardalil being affected as a consequence of landslides. Immediately upon the closure of the Bardalil, then we paralyzed the south of the island.
The damage to Soufriere, the west coast town most visited by tourists to the island, will impact significantly on the island's tourism sector. The Caribbean's only drive-in volcano, the Sulphur Springs in Soufriere, suffered severe damage. This was a major income earner for the people of Soufriere. Now it requires major repairs to the access roads, the facilities, and amenities. The picture from Soufriere is not pretty, but there is hope. Soufriere is the tourism capital of St. Lucia. Serious damage there will impact on the tourism industry, which is the island's main income earner. The road infrastructure and water are the biggest challenges to the tourism industry. Without water, tourism establishments will not remain open for business. Some are already reacting.
They're now laying off staff and sending the staff home. So in addition to people losing all their personal